All right, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Carefree Black Nerd podcast, a conversation about representation in comics and related media. I am your host, Rhayne Coleman. Today we're covering some good stuff. So we have the Fox Chronicles Kickstarter is what we're discussing, but I have with me a very special guy. I can't even say guest at this point. Like, you got, spare keys to the house. We've been on so many different episodes. We have a long-standing review of 4400. Like, this is like the 12th time you've been on talking about a project.
Yeah.
Let these people know who's on with me today.
My name is Robert Jeffrey II. I am a comic book writer based out of Atlanta, Georgia. Obviously, graduate of the 2017 DC Comics Writers Workshop. So, some of you might know me from Route 3, The Crossing, Mind to Avenge, Radio Free America, Changa and the Jade Obelisk, Retcon. And I am also editor-in-chief. Yeah, there we go. There we go. And also my work in DC Comics with I got to write a short story featuring John Stewart. But I'm also editor-in-chief for blacksci-fi.com.
Yes,
so jack of all trades, and I try to write as much as possible. It seems to be my stilo.
You're succeeding. You're writing all the things. Oh man. Okay. Well, first, I'm so happy to have you back. This is good stuff. Please let these people know where to find you online for those of you who are listening on the podcast and the later uploads, so they can know how to reach out to you.
Yeah, my website is robertk.jeffrey.com. That's robertkjeffrey.com. Instagram, robertk.jeffrey, and Facebook. Just do a search for author Robert Jeffrey the second, or II, and that should bring me up on Facebook, Instagram, and my website, and also Twitter, which is up on the screen at SyncRKJ.
All right. All those links will be in the show notes for those of you. There's no excuse. Check those show notes and check out Robert. And of course, you can find me on Twitter, Carefree Blurred, Carefree Black Nerd everywhere else. Email me at carefreeblacknerd@gmail.com. Those are in the show notes as well. Getting right to it, we are discussing a Kickstarter. This is the Fox Chronicles.
Yep.
What's up? What is this? What y'all got going on?
Fox, it's a we call it our sci-fi coming of age tale.
Okay.
With a bit of social commentary mixed in. If you're a fan of books like Ironheart, we have a bit of Voltron, the Legendary Defenders in there, plus Far Sector and Tomb Raider. This is a series for you, but what the story focuses on an Atlanta teen. I'm back to Atlanta again, right? with another story. Autumn Fox, who by the time we catch up with her, she's very much in the know of, like, her, let's say, her super abilities, with she has the promise of becoming and all that good stuff. And she's currently, you could say, she's in training, to take on the galaxy spanning adventures that we will eventually get to. But in this case, we're in the far flung future for the world, for our world, or for Earth.
Okay.
And she wants to use her abilities to right the wrongs that are still going on. We, as humans, we can't seem to stop to mess it up. So one of the things that she wants to tackle is something that's still plaguing our world today, and even actually down here in Atlanta, human trafficking.
Ooh,
that's still, yeah. So, so within this larger world, or the story that we're telling when it comes to, like, the sci-fi space opera, at the core of it, we have a story about a teenage girl who wants to use her abilities to just do something better.
Yeah.
And that's where we are at the start of the and actually in the first issue of the Fox Chronicles. So
okay, that was a lot. You hit me with a lot. So I'm seeing a lot of space opera, human trafficking back in Atlanta, some Afrofuturism, black people surviving in the far future in one of the blackest cities of Atlanta. So, this is cool. Okay, so before we get too deep, because now you gave me the kind of general overview, let's go ahead and play the Kickstarter video so that listeners, you guys can get it, I guess, straight from the horse's mouth, the complete package trailer. Then we'll get into the specifics. This is a lot, man. This is a lot. I'm here for it. So bear with me a second. I'm going to bring up the trailer here.
Hi, I'm Tony Cade. For those of you who don't know me, I'm director of the Atlanta Sci-Fi and Fantasy Expo, and I'm also owner of Challenges Games and Comics. If this corner looks a little familiar to you, it's because, yes, you did see it in Season 2 of Cobra Kai. But that's not why I'm here to talk with you, even though it is a really interesting story. I'm here to talk to you about my new Kickstarter project called The Fox Chronicles. The Fox Chronicles is a coming-of-age story that spans about 100,000 years. And I know most of you guys like your space battles, you like your big fight scenes, and we're not going to disappoint you on those things. But what our story is mainly about is giving knowledge, along with dealing with issues that deal with families and friends, and how to survive in a world that's not too far removed from our own. These stories that I want to tell are stories that I think that adolescents, adults, and kids will all be able to get into. So that's the reason I'm coming to you today on Kickstarter. I feel really great about the fantastic team that I put together, and I need you guys, to help me get these books into your hands, because I think you're going to be really happy.
My name is Robert Jeffrey II, and I am the series writer for the Autumn Fox Chronicles. First and foremost, I want to start off by saying thank you for even giving our project the time of day. You have no shortage of options to choose from on Kickstarter alone or at your local comic book store, and to give us a chance to promote our work to you is huge, and it's not taken for granted. Secondly, when you pledge for this book or when you purchase this book, you are buying something which started off as a brainchild of a comic book store owner down here in Georgia, but has turned into something much, much bigger. We have put together a science fiction, action, adventure story mixed with a bit of social commentary, which speaks to some of the issues of our world today, featuring a heroine which, more often than not, is overlooked, in the pages of many of the comic books that we buy, nowadays. So, on a variety of fronts, I think that you will enjoy picking up this book or reading this book. But at the end of the day, simply put, we just want to say thanks, for giving us the time of day, as I said before, and for checking out the Autumn Fox Chronicles. Thanks again, and I guess happy Kickstarter.
Oh, okay. So let's get to it. Autumn Fox and the Kickstarter. So let's start with comic book shop owner.
Yep.
Like what? Oh, walk me back. Let's
give you the origin story. Tony Cade runs a comic book store down here called Challenges Games and Comics, and before that, he had a store. This goes back to '94. He's been successfully running his own comic book store for a while as one of the only Black comic book store owners on the East Coast, going back to '94, and especially in the Southeast, and especially in Georgia. So, Tony's been in this game for a minute. I always tell the story that when I was in high school, back in like '98 or '97, I actually went into his store, he was in a smaller store. Mm-hmm. And then he since moved to like a location, probably that wasn't too far away, which was bigger. But when I walked in, I just remember like, this is really small. I love it. But it's just like, you could tell that, things were, he was moving upwards and onwards, and he is now where he is. Well, he is now where he is with opening up his new publishing company with Prime Direction Studios, with Autumn Fox being the lead series. So yeah, Tony was actually the guy who brought me into the comic book industry. I wasn't doing comics before Tony. He reached out to me after I had approached him when he was with another publisher, Terminus Media, and with my portfolio of newspaper articles that I had built up over time, over a couple of years with the Atlanta Voice newspaper. So from that, he reached out and asked me if I wanted to pitch a story for an anthology that they were doing. And I don't think you read the story. It's called Daddy's Little Girl. It's that's I'll call it the catching up occasion from hell, between a daughter and her father. And that led to actually doing work on the first iteration of Autumn Fox, which was, because this is kind of a reboot of a previous character, character named Amber Fox. I did a story with that, and that was the first thing I'd ever done with the Route 3 artist, Sean Hill, who is now Marvel published, Sean Hill, and one of the best in the indie game. And then that led to Route 3. So in between all that time, Tony was teaching me about the business of the game, of the comics game, of just writing, and his eye for talent is huge, as you can see in this book. But yeah, Tony, and he also is the founder of a convention down here called, and one of the organizers of the Atlanta Science Fiction and Fantasy Expo. So in addition to running a comic book store, in addition to now running a comic book publishing company, and in addition to running one of the, I call it, preeminent free comic book conventions or sci-fi conventions down here, Tony is a hustler. So I mean, like, in a good way, he's like, in a good way. Let me not associate Kickstarter and hustling in the same. Let me clear that up, because but no, he loves comics, and with being around since '94, his clients, he has a huge clientele as far as the customers who are repeat, backers, or they keep coming back to the store. So he's doing something right. But that's kind of his origin story and how I got connected to him, going way back when to when I started freelancing back in 2005.
Kudos, Tony. Congrats, all that good stuff. Yeah, because he's in there. He's in the comics. His knees deep in. So he has a store. He has this publishing company. We have Autumn Fox as the kind of flagship or kickoff character. How do we get her? Because I know you said she was a reboot or a revamp of another character before.
Right. So originally there was this, we had a character back in the Terminus days that it was, Tony's create her own, character and I guess series. And her name was Amber Fox. So it was one of those things where when Tony approached me about, and when he started kind of coming up with this idea of trying to, launch his own comic book company, but also wanting to do something with this character, it was just like, what can we do that speaks to the audiences that we want to reach, and straight up, which are being overlooked. At that point, when we had pitched the story, there wasn't an Ironheart series. There wasn't a standalone series. And not saying that, teenage, Black teenage, I guess girls or a teenage hero, females, didn't exist, at that point, but they weren't getting their standalone series. And I always say that on the indie front, though, you can find plenty of those series. For independently, you can find those series. But Tony wanted to add to, what the indies were doing, and just kind of, flesh his character out. So we gave her a new origin, a background, keeping certain elements of the previous character, but we wanted to tie more of this, kind of a more serious story, and have her earthbound, at least in this first story arc that we're telling. We'll get to the point where she becomes the world hopping, the planet hopping or dimension hopping, character that we were dealing with before. But now this is kind of like, think about Batman Year One, except in this case you're dealing with a teenager from Atlanta, Georgia, who has the ability to create nanite created weapons. So that's and one of the things we've spoken about is that she has been raised her whole life. She's grown up with an AI deeply embedded in her subconsciousness. So like when you see kids talking to like imaginary friends, she actually has an imaginary friend who is like Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan, but he's an a-hole. So so that's because his goal is to prepare her for things that are larger and grander, without getting too much into like his origin. We call him John. But so when he sees eventually in the series, when she takes on this whole mantle of trying to break down or disrupt, the trafficking that she sees, he's like, this is human stuff. I'm telling you, there's stuff that's larger than this. So that's kind of how we wanted to, make it different than what had come before. And not saying what had come before was bad.
Right.
One of my favorite stories with Amber Fox previously was getting a chance to write a team up story, with her and another group that we had back in the Terminus Media days called Terraforce. And so that was cool. And then also, if you know The Crossing, which you just showed before, John McGuire wrote a story. One of actually, in my opinion, it's one of the best. It's the best Amber Fox story that's ever been written, and it's a beautiful one. But he wrote a team up between where Amber Fox jumped dimensions into a universe he had created called the Gilded Age. And also, shout out to John McGuire. I'd say, do a search for John McGuire and the Gilded Age and pick up that graphic novel, because that's another another comic book I think people should check out, and that deserves a second life. So so everybody had a chance to contribute to Amber Fox's universe, but Tony we had to do something new. We had to do something new. We did revamp the character, for to become an African American teenager, and we're off to the races. So so when he pitched it to me, and for me it was like a paying gig. I was like, hey, this is great. It's great. I get to have I like to I like those, but also get a chance to help create a new do a new take on the character. So
good. So Jesus, I'm in awe. I'm like, okay, give me these breadcrumbs. Let me see if I can work my way back. So with that, let's talk about the subject matter. So it is this space opera. It's this Afro. Again, I can't stress enough. Black people are alive in the future, so that alone will pick it up. But human trafficking, what? I guess, how did that decision come about to make a big part of it about human trafficking?
So going back to the Terminus days, Tony, myself, John McGuire, Tanya Woods, and Pete Mitchell, we were hired to help. We teamed up with the Centers for Disease Control as an organization to write an animated motion comic highlighting, actually bringing awareness to the topics of STDs, HIV awareness, and everything kind of associated with that when it focused on teens. So as a part of that, when I think we wrote like 7 episodes, and that experience was really cool because we would meet together at the Dragon's Hoard, and as a writer's room. So none of us have been to Hollywood. Actually, I think Tanya might be the closest one. I always say she has a background in film and music, but I don't think any of us had ever done a writer's room. So that for us, that was us getting together, powwowing, writing, trying to strike this balance between, let's say edutainment. So, from that experience, the next topic that we wanted to tackle which was something that was brought to our, everybody, we had all known about human trafficking before that, but in the midst of, going through this process with the CDC, we learn more about it from their angle, because it is, to be honest with you, it's a mental health crisis and it's a physical health crisis. So it's, that's at least how I kind of looked at it from their angle with their connection. So our goal was, if we ever had another chance to pitch an opportunity to do this work, to do the client work for the Centers for Disease Control, that would be something that we would have had a chance to jump on, and actually, utilizing what we had learned, in addition to, our great writing skills and all the good stuff. But, but that opportunity never came.
Okay.
For whatever reason. And the work I will say is that we did with the CDC was award winning. Like, if you head to my website right now, I do have a section there dedicated to the work that I had done with them, or that we did as a group. And you can actually watch those episodes now. Okay. So when Tony, and so as a part of that, we also learned about this thing called the Savile Method. And it was the idea of edutainment, of educating people through entertainment. And in that case, I can't remember the guy's first name, but there was the telenovelas that were filmed in somewhere in Mexico or South America, and I think it was Mexico, but they were using those telenovelas to teach, about certain topics. So we thought, trying to apply that method to this comic book story that we're telling, that's how we could get kind of the edutainment in there. So those elements of the CDC work stood out to us. And if you go to the Kickstarter page, we go more in depth into that. I'm giving like kind of a surface level explanation of the Savile Method, but we do explain that, in addition to, as in, trying to entertain, we also wanted to educate about about a topic that, it's, it does get, it's, it focused on a bit, but we wanted to, tell it from our angle. And one of the things that actually in the story that I enjoy is that we actually do a bit of cross-genre stuff. So I know you're a Law and Order fan, so there's a little bit of a procedural cop drama mixed into this like larger YA sci-fi story that we're trying to tell. But still coming at it from a respectful, angle, and not trying to make it as sensationalistic and bombastic as the other sources might. So that's our goal. But we feel that with what we learned with our work with the CDC, where we were writing stories about teenagers dealing with heavy topics like HIV and STD awareness. We succeeded on that front, so we hopefully we'll bring those skills with the Fox Chronicles.
Yeah. And that's good. I can't recall off the top of my head, not saying that there aren't any out there, but I can't recall reading a comic with this subject matter. Maybe like with the mutant metaphor side of things, but like seriously tackling something as heavy as human trafficking. That's, again, there's like these elements of the project that alone are enough for the price of admission into the Kickstarter. By the way, support it. But all of these combined, I'm now even more interested in. This is not just a space opera. This is not just a futuristic, man. Okay, so, and then knowing that history with the CDC that you have, all of you guys underneath your belt, makes this even that much more, I want to say credible, but I feel like it's not I don't want to make it seem as if you can write the story and be good, but knowing you have that kind of insight from the CDC that helped craft some of this story is like now even more interesting, because like, shoot, and I give this to my niece and nephew. Hey, y'all, look at this. It's entertaining, but also, cautionary tales, so to speak.
That's the perfect summation of it, I would say.
Okay, good. So the work you've done on your own so far is, of course, has me excited. But let's get into the team. So it's not only you, it's not only Tony. Tell us about the creative team.
So first and foremost, as a co-writer on the series, we have Leah Ware. She is awesome. Being brought on as the co-writer and editor, and I'd done a pass of the script before, and Tony brought Leo on to help flesh out the story, the dialogue, and I think we're at a point where the story has benefited from her being brought on. Okay. And as far as I know, this is her first comics work. So, and Leo also used to, I think she has a background in the performing arts, and like I said, world building, character development, and dialogue. And I don't think this will be her last foray into comic books, and I think she also has a background as a English teacher, which was extremely helpful. But also, shout out to all the educators, in these COVID times that we're dealing with. As far as our illustrator, Fritz Fuyo, I think it's Casas, the man is a beast. You just see it with the pencils and inks, on that are on the page. But also he has a background with working with Tony. I think with something Terminus related. I might be wrong, but either way, he and Tony have a background. But he's also worked for Dynamite Comics, Zenoscope, and on certain series like White Sand, Queen Sonia, and Alice in Wonderland. And so he's doing the pencils and inks. On the colors, we have Candace Hahn, who, once again, Tony, like I said, he has an eye for talent. So if he finds talent, he's going to work with them as much as possible. She's worked for Dark Horse Comics, IDW, Heavy Metal Magazine, Valiant, and Activision. And she's done work on Star Trek, Transformers, Alien, the original screenplay, and even Call of Duty comic books. So this is for the interiors of the book. Like I said, this is not just the cover work. This is not a case of where the covers look beautiful and then you turn into the book and you're like, oh, okay, it's not what I was expecting. Yeah.
Okay. Hold on, Robert. Hold on, because you're giving me a lot. Okay, so first and foremost, shout out to John Robinson. Hey,
what's up, Scooter?
What's going on? Now we have Tony K watching right now. So hello, Tony. Thank again, you brother, Professor X. You have assembled the mutants. You have done what you need to do. He says that Chris worked on the needle.
The needle tire. Okay, so that was in. Let me jump in before I forget. So that was another piece of client work that Terminus Media had done. One of the things I tell publishers is, if you can, it helps to try to get client work, if as much as possible. It definitely helps out. Like I said, if you can maintain just doing the creative books, and that's good. But one of the things that we learned with Terminus is that real talk, nobody was buying our comics like that. They just weren't. So we had to balance that out with bringing income in some other way, and that was huge. So Needle Tires was a piece of client work that we had done, and he was the artist on that. So, but go back to you called him Professor X and all that good stuff.
I mean, I'm saying this man has and are you even done with the creative team, or are you still going through the?
Oh, I mean, I can go through the cover artists. I mean,
but hold up. What I'm saying is, just the bit that you've shown me now, that you've said now, this man is truly, he's truly Krakoa's very own at this point. Kudos to you, Tony.
They let Tony onto the island, right?
I mean, they would want to with this resume. Okay. So my bad. Go ahead, finish out this creative thing, because
Yeah. So like I said, that's just that's the interiors of the book. So going on to cover artists, we have Laveda O'Neill, who, if you have picked up the Route 3 graphic novel, she did the colors on that. But she has just an impressive resume of doing just in digital art. She's done covers, character designs, website designs. And so if you do a search for her, you'll see some of the great work that she's done. I mean, even and also on Instagram. I gotta get these handles, but so
Yeah.
we have her as one of our variant cover artists. We have Marcus Williams, who you already know from Tuskegee
Hey,
Airs.
come on, man.
Yeah,
That's good.
you know, one of Atlanta's best artists in the game, and just one of the best artists in the game. So
Yeah.
if you know Marcus Williams and Tuskegee Airs, you know
Yes.
what quality of work he's bringing to
Ooh.
doing the covers for us. And then we have Pal. Pal, I think it's Zhong. He's Emmy award-winning designer and freelance illustrator who's in Atlanta. He's worked for TNT, TBS, Cartoon Network, Sony's Creative Center. But he goes way back with Terminus Media, but also now with Prime Direction, with a new studio. And this is actually his, his first major debut, with comic books. But having a background as far as that, he's bringing something awesome, to the project as a whole. And he's offering, if you look at some of the tiers, he's offering commissions. So definitely, and also something else we're working on, which will be pretty cool. And then we have Sheldon Mitchell, who's another cover artist who we've worked with in the past. He's worked for Awesome Entertainment, Marvel Comics, DC Comics. He is an artist for Freshman, Witchblade, The Darkness for Top Cow, Vampire Hunter D, and Niobe, She Is Death for Stranger Comics. So when I say no games are being played with what we're trying to bring with this project, I'm trying to be as straight up and as honest as possible. Like, Tony, the good thing about this book is that you have a healthy balance. Pal was he was in our first comics project going back with Terminus, Tony has brought together some of the best and brightest in indie and mainstream. So a lot of the people that Tony has worked with through the years, they have gone on to do work for larger companies. And with that, you see the talent just grow and grow and grow. So we're at a point now where when we're listing out the credits, we can say, like, we have folks like myself who have worked for DC Comics. We have folks who have worked for Marvel. We have folks who have worked for Zenescope. We have worked for Image and Dark Horse and so forth and so forth. But then also in the indie realm, we are continuing to produce quality work. It's just like we take what we've learned from indie, mainstream, and everything in between. And now you have the Fox Chronicles.
Okay, so with that, because you hit me with a lot, man. I was not expecting that, and I was kind of trying to go through the list while you were. So those of you watching, I'm not just like not doing my own thing. I'm kind of taking notes and looking at the stuff here. But you have this amazing foundation. You have this book that even before getting it in hand, on paper feels like it's a win-win for everybody involved, the creative team, and then those of us picking it up. You've just run down some heavy hitters, yourself included. So with this book, I guess what is the book itself? Is it like one issue? Is it a graphic novel? Is it a couple issues? Tell us about the book itself.
Okay, so this will be 30 pages, either 30 or 33. I know it's at least 30 pages of the first issue of an ongoing arc.
Okay.
So that's one of the things, and I don't mince words about this. I don't play games. The only way we succeed is if people pledge, if people share. Like I said last night, I know all of our bank accounts got a little bit fatter over this. I'm just being real.
I mean, you're right, wrong.
I'll be as real as possible. So that's the beauty of something like Kickstarter is that the success or failure. I mean, if you call failure beautiful, is but the beauty of Kickstarter is that the people are actually the ones that ensure that we are successful or that we aren't. I mean, that's it. That's as straight, so if you want to see the story continued, outside of just this one issue, which I'll just be sitting in my house, oh man, it looks so great in my Dropbox. We want to get it from Dropbox, from our various emails back and forth, amongst the creative team
Mhm.
to the backers. So you're getting 30 pages of great interior art, storytelling, writing. Um, and if you pledge it some of the other tiers, you also get some awesome variant covers too. But right now, this is the first in a multi-issue arc for that we're looking at. I guess for this initial Kickstarter.
Okay, good. So that's to me, that's good to know, because I know a lot of times, and I don't know if this deters people or gets them excited for it, but you'll see a Kickstarter, you'll support it, and then it may be just that one issue. So I wasn't sure if it was like an ongoing, if it was a graphic novel, if it was one issue. So that's good. That's good. Also that you're providing a quality, and not to say other Kickstarters are not quality, but specifically speaking about this one, you're providing an ongoing story that is very good, that is an alternative to just the DC and Marvel of it all. That for one is something that will definitely have me supporting. So please, guys, do that. Again, those links are in the show notes. The Kickstarter link is in the show notes right now. Be you watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast afterwards, it's there. Select it. At the very least, share it at the very least. So what is the goal for this Kickstarter? What's the monetary goal?
Right now, total, I went back to refresh the screen. So total, we're looking at 8,000. And within one day, we've actually raised a quarter of that. We raised like 28%. So we're standing at $2,266.
Oh, okay. And at the time of this recording today, March 15th, how many more days do we have left?
We have actually 30 more days. We have 30 more days. Yeah.
One day. I'm sorry.
And and that was and a shout out to podcasts like yourself, but then also we did a live launch on a show called Chat and Draw, hosted by Mike Watson.
Chat and Draw. Say that again. Chat and Draw.
Chat and Draw by Michael Watson.
Michael Watson.
Okay. And it was a good opportunity to talk with a few members of the creative team, and to live chat as we're doing right here with with potential backers, and I think that that was big. But like, to wake up to 2,000, because like I think when we ended it was like close to 1,000, which was good, which was really great. But then I keep looking. And I'm just like, oh, we did a quarter of this, and like if we can continue to push hard, and also and then what I was seeing also is that a lot of people, like I was asking, were either sharing or they were pledging. So, one of the things that kind of gets frustrating when you're indie creators. Here's a scenario. So here's some insight into the indie realm. So you're at a table, and then you have specifically a Black comic book fan walk up to your table, and they have a lengthy discussion about how they're not being represented in the big two. So, and I have all my stuff there. We have all our stuff. I might be sharing a table with William Satterwright of Stealth, and he has all of his stuff. And they're having a lengthy discussion, and we agree with them. And we do talk about how DC and Marvel are doing better, but then also you still want more and all that good stuff. And the first thing I noticed is that they're carrying like 5 Deadpool prints under their shoulders. So I'm like, okay, well, they got money to spend, right? This is a salesman side of me. So as part of, and they also combined with not seeing something that they want. So I'm like, well, okay, well, definitely, check out what we have here. I don't do a hard sell. I'm not a car salesman. I'm just like, check out what we have. At least a bad car salesman. But, check out what we have. If something speaks to you, because based on what you're saying, this is the stuff that I think will. Yeah. And then they say, no, but I'll take that business card. I will come back to your website. It's on the business card, right? And at that point, I'm just like, I'm a little done, and it's actually gotten to the point where I don't put business cards on my table anymore, because I got tired of money being wasted. Right. amongst some fans, and it's not a sizable contingent, but it's enough. And you see it online. They'll ask for all of this stuff, and the indies are giving it to you.
Yeah.
More fronts than one. So I feel that the Fox Chronicles is a series, that can, that once again speaks to or gives people what they've been asking for. And we have a quality set of creators. So that's the indie rant of the day. As far as why Robert doesn't keep business cards on his table. And I was just like, I'm not paying $20 a pop for
no, I'll get
it. But that's there's a writer named Brandon Easton. He called it, I think it was Black Geek Stockholm syndrome. Where they just keep going back, for what they're not being provided. At points, and then sometimes look at indie comics with a sense of disdain. Like I said, I don't think that's. I think that's getting better. I don't think that's a large contingent, but it's enough that after a while you got to stop just asking questions of who would win a fight, Thor versus Superman. I mean, there's a bunch of comics out there that you could read rather than having those constant discussions all the time. So
I agree. And I have a question for you. And it's kind of adjacent to with comic book movies going from Blade, Iron Man, even the Fox X-Men stuff. Do you feel like with everything you just said, it's getting better because now comics are a bit more mainstream, general public now knowing these characters, even though these characters aren't indie characters? Do you feel like with the explosion or the renaissance of comic book focused media that we've gotten, has that helped that would you say Black Geek Stockholm syndrome? Do you think
I do, because I mean, once again, I can tie this into Tony's convention. So doing the Atlanta Science Fiction and Fantasy Expo each, like I think for maybe 5 or 6 years. COVID was I told Tony, COVID was the only thing that stopped his convention, because he was going strong. So his comic book store is in a mall. So the convention is in a mall, and we are right by the movie theaters. So Tony will time the convention to take place for the release of whatever big Marvel movie is coming out, or whatever big movie is coming out. So, which is smart. He's a businessman. He's a businessman. So, so using that as an example, and just even since I've started doing conventions as a retailer, yes, I think that definitely the explosion of comic books on television, streaming, and then also movies, has definitely caused people to go out to comic book conventions that probably hadn't gone before. And especially Black Panther. So one of the things that I love seeing was, going to conventions and having, new fans or people who aren't familiar with comics or sci-fi or speculative fiction in any way, shape, form possible, and they'll. And I'm specifically talking about Black folks coming up to my table. It's like, I had no idea any of this existed.
There we go.
I had no, and then, or they specifically say, I was looking for my brothers and my sisters to come and support, because I want more of this for myself. I want more of this for my daughter, my son, and so forth. And then you have people who aren't Black people, who just come up and they're just like, I just want to get more comics. I want to experience different stories. So I do think that there's definitely a parallel between a connection, to people coming out to these conventions, or taking more of I don't want to say taking more of a chance, but not spending so much time in just the general convention space area. But they mosey their way over to Artist Alley, or the indie side of things. So so I've definitely seen that.
Okay. Yeah, I can, for myself, and this is such an embarrassing story. When I was a young kid, like going to the dollar store to get snacks for school, there were so many comics on the shelves that I deemed less than, because they weren't Marvel and DC, because I had only known X-Men animated series, Batman. I had only known what was in like the big grocery stores, the big comic book stores. And I'm now like so upset that in my big age, I don't still have some of those old school comics that were in the dollar store. And so I get the mindset of like the initial, well, favoring something more, but that's only because that's all you know. That's all you're given. That's all that you, just like an underground artist. It's the very same thing. Oh, I knew about Lizzo before you. Okay, well now we all do. And because we all do, she gets more money and she's in our face more. Same thing with these indie projects. Like this is as embarrassing as this story is, and it may not be to some, but that's so cringe to me that you would really be like, oh, this dollar store comic, but
well, I mean, yeah, I mean, and that it's and you know, at least we're having a conversation, you know, about it. I mean, like growing up, and the other part of that you mentioned was having the options. You know, when I was, at least on my side of town, I'm from Chicago originally, so we didn't have comic book stores where I lived. We just didn't. I'm not saying that Chicago bookstores didn't exist in Chicago back in the 80s and 90s or whatever, but they weren't where I was. So my mom was only able to get books from, and this is somebody who is not, I mean, my mother told me a while ago, she's like, baby, I don't understand any of what you're doing, but if it makes you happy, then do it. And that's what she just started talking about, my love of all of the geek stuff that that I enjoy. But she would see comic books at the Walgreens, you know, in our neighborhood, or the, I think it was called Osco. Osco something. It's been a while since I don't even know if the place is still up in Chicago, but she would get them from the drugstores, you know, from the magazine racks or whatever, and bring them home. And then my dad, when he moved down to Atlanta with my stepmom, he was shipping comic books up to us, the Milestone books. That's actually how I learned about Milestone. You know, so they weren't digging deeper, and it's not, you know, they were parents trying to get comics to their kids, and in my dad's case, he saw black people on the cover. He was just like, let's do it. So he probably read the books and then sent them to us, or bought sets for himself, because that was my dad. But they only bought what was available or what was within their reach. But around this time, you have the explosion of like black indie comics, you know, with things like Brother Man. And I didn't learn about Brother Man and Dawood and you know, his team and the family until I was in college, or even after college. So once I learned about, because the only like indie black comics that I knew about were Milestone. So once I decided to pursue a career in comic books and dug more deep into it, I was just like, there's a crap ton more of stuff that's out there. So sometimes accessibility is big, and that's why I think conventions are huge. You're for finding that talent that you are finding those books, and also this thing called the internet. You know, you can do a search now and do like the best black comic book creators. And you'll be taken to top 10 lists and top 20 lists all across. So some of it is accessibility. The other part is, you know, doing the homework yourself, you know, and trying to find those sources. But I always say, if you got a local convention in your area, spend the $5 or $10 that you would have spent, you know, going to McDonald's or some BS. I mean, or not BS, because I love McDonald's a little bit too much. But but try to, you know, if you, that's why I was making a joke about the 1,400, like of that, you know, shoot over $10 to an indie book. You know, that will not hurt. You know, that would actually help a lot. So whatever. And the other thing that I love about black indie comics, but indie comics in general, is that you have a wide variety of things that you can get into. So if you don't like superheroes, there's sci-fi. If you don't like sci-fi, there's slice of life. You know, there's a lot of stuff out there. So.
And even with conventions, I want to keep bringing these up. I got things from you at a virtual convention. We're no longer tied to brick and mortar anything anymore, really. You know, and if you can support Amazon because it's easier to get your white t-shirts or your, you know, whatever from there, what's a few dollars for even if you can't support we don't expect you to support everybody. That doesn't make any sense. But if you're able to, like, I even do a monthly Patreon pledge. I mean, it'll cycle in because I listen to so many different podcasts and I consume so many different creators. I will cycle in, first couple months, do this person, switch it out to that person. So this is the hill that I die on because my whole podcast is about representation in comics and media, because the representation, if it is there and being consumed, once this stuff is flipped and it's live action, that's more Black people getting these jobs, and that I will always champion for representation in comics and related media. Related media being in games, Kickstarters, conventions, any and all of that. So all that being said, even if you yourself, listener, cannot support monetarily, share this till the wheels fall off. Share it till your fingers hurt. Tell everybody about it.
It doesn't, like, word of mouth is so key, like, especially in the case of just the internet. It's where were you there, Robert, when we shared? Yeah, that was the first large convention. I'll answer this question, but sharing, pledging if you can, but sharing is huge, because somebody, maybe it's not for you, but then somebody who might come to your page and say, like, that art looks like great, let me go to that page and let me click and go to the page and see if I want to pledge. That's definitely huge. So for what Tony said, we actually shared a booth with the Brotherman team.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, the industry is so interconnected, man. Like, when I think the first time I met Dawood was when I interviewed him for a story for the Atlanta Voice newspaper.
Okay.
I was running around doing my Clark Kent, trying to report on these stories and all that. But I was connected with Dawood by Dennis, an editor of mine at the time, Dennis Bryan. And Dennis, if you watch this, hit me up, man. But I got connected with Dawood. I got connected with, I think, Dexter Vines. I would have to find a story, but also got a chance to do a voice interview, a phone interview with Dwayne McDuffie.
Okay.
And that was the only time I've ever had a chance to, quote unquote, meet him. So I parlayed. When MegaCon was the first, like, large convention that I have ever done, at least the out of state one, and Wood and Terminus at the time, what did we do? We shared a table, because everybody knows everybody down here in Atlanta. I mean, this is the home of Tuskegee Airs. This is the home of Kamikaze. This is the home of Urban Shogun. This is the home of Stealth. This is the home of Route 3. And those are talented indie creators, and there's a bunch of mainstream creators down here too also. So but no, Dawood and them, they if you have never read Brother Man, do it. That is Black excellence on page. That's just comic book storytelling excellence on every page. So
good. I got it on my list. I'm racking up the list of stuff to shoot out after this is done. And then Tony says, come on Tony, what you got for us? Pledge now. You have 30 days before it comes out of your account. Those stimulus checks should be in by then. I am all for that, Tony. Tony says pledge now. Yeah, again, I mean, first of all, if you're watching this and if you're listening to it, you are a fan of comics. And again, even if you don't want it for yourself, you might have a niece, a nephew, a friend, a coworker, somebody. This will be a very extra special gift that everybody won't have their hands on. So pledge now, get a copy or two. And save it up for a Christmas gift. I don't know, somebody's birthday coming up. So with that, right, it's every month somebody's birthday. What can you tell us about the prizes or the rewards?
There was actually, it was funny because there was one I was going to point out specifically. We have I can't say it in the voice, but we have a Welcome to Atlanta collection.
Okay.
Shout out to Ludacris. There's actually the first celebrity that I ever interviewed. So
cool. Okay.
That's a weird connection. Imagine me interviewing Ludacris. That was entertaining to watch from the outside looking in. Anyways, so That Tony had a really awesome idea of getting a bunch of the Atlanta creators that I mentioned together to donate their books to the tier.
Okay.
So if you you get a collection of digital comics from creators who are based in the same city that we are setting our story in. So
yeah, I'm looking at that now. This Welcome to Atlanta. Jesus. Okay.
And that's the $50 tier. And then we also one of our it looks like the most popular one that we've had has been the $15 pledge, where it's called so Tony named after each of these after like songs. So this one's called Let's Get Physical. And you get the comic book physical and digital copy, and then at that point we start adding on the different options for the different variant covers. So right now I think we have how many variant covers do we have? We have four variant covers. So between the levels of, let's say, 25 to or 15 to 50, you get a bunch of different options. And that's the one thing that we wanted to provide was the ability to, I guess, just have a variety of options, in terms of what you could get. And I think we also had one of the ones that I could point out was you can, if you pledge at a $200 level, there's a one-on-one session with me where you can have, in addition to getting your rewards, you can have a 1-hour online opportunity to ask questions about writing comic books, working in indie comic book industry, and just to talk comics with me. So that it feels weird talking about a tier that's specifically for me.
I don't know. Look at the receipts. This ain't even all of it. This is, man, look, I get it. You are your worst critic, but fam, I think that's worth the 200.
Thank you, man. Thanks. Yeah. So from a writing perspective, that's one tier to look at, and then also from the art side of things, we also have another have a $200 tier for you can commission your own artwork from PAL. And I think also, and that's a 11 by 17, and then also the other one was a $100 level where you can also get another piece of original artwork, except it's a little smaller by 7 by 10, and then a couple of other ones with prints. But yeah, it's I would definitely say if you want more bang for your buck, check out that Welcome to Atlanta collection. Because you're getting some really good comic books from talented creators down here, and I guess in all you'd be getting maybe 6 or 7 comics. 6 or 7 comics. So we have a wide variety, but if you want to kind of a taste of what Atlanta's offering in terms of comic books, I would definitely look at that. So either that or just have a bunch of people pledge the $15 $15 level.
You're not wrong. Yeah, I think it's something here for everybody. It's something and then some. I'm looking over the prizes now, rewards, and trying to figure out where I'm about to pledge. But geez, that Welcome to Atlanta looks mighty appealing. Man, this is now, can you speak quickly to the wraparound cover? Tony says there's a wraparound cover that's for Kickstarter only. What is that?
So the wraparound cover is that's the one by Sheldon Mitchell. No, no, that not Sheldon Mitchell. That is the one by give me 1 second. Because I can look at it and just tell you like right off the bat. I think that's Fritz's. Fritz's is the Fritz's is the main one that wraps around, and I really wish I had the ability.
You have
to share my screen. Let me see if I can get it over to you. Give me 1 second.
All right. So we're learning together now. So no, I can make no progress. But no, okay, cool. While you're doing that, I'm just looking up. First of all, the artwork is stellar. You've given
you.
us tons of heavy resumes, heavy enough to come up out your pockets. The tiers are reasonable in price. And then again, not to tell nobody how to spend your money, but we are in a panoramic. Ain't nobody been out shopping like we was before. So where you probably would have spent $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $20 on like you said, some food or maybe some shoes or a shirt. You can throw it this way. Let's see. Tony says the foil cover is going to be glorious. I saw that the tier for the foil. What is it? Jeez, I was just looking at it. Which one is that, Tony? Because one of the set of foil covers. Either way, foil covers have been my jam. I got some old school Generation X comics with them foil covers.
Man, you're taking me back. Yes. You're taking me back. That's
Intergalactic. Oh, yes. Okay, let's see. Intergalactic full variant. Yep, that's right. So you got the intergalactic full variant, man. My accent, I can't say variant. But yes, no. So this project, you sent this to me. What was this? Was it yesterday? Was it last night?
It was last night. I probably had put like a bug in your ear about it a little bit, but yeah.
No, because it's just the artwork, the Kickstarter itself, the amount of energy and time going into it. I don't know. This is quality work. And again, even if this ain't for you, it could be for somebody who you know, somebody you don't even know. Social media is full of people being followed and being engaged with by people who you don't even know. There's been times I've gotten an email or a tweet like, man, why did you stop? Like, what was a show that I didn't complete? I think it was like the first season of Insecure. I didn't review the last 2 episodes, and I had 3 girls on 3 different occasions DM me like, what the hell is the rest? So that as an example, you never know who's watching and following you, because even though I mainly talk about comics, I venture off here and there, and I did not realize the type, the following that I have that may not be hard focused on some of the more comic stuff. That being said, you might not be a diehard comic just a whenever tangentially whatever movie come out. It don't matter. Share, y'all.
Karen is Karen. I sent the completed wraparound image to you if you wanted to toss that up.
Let's see. Oh yeah, okay. Now let's see. Now we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna figure out how to Okay. Yeah, this is a very beautiful. And this, I would frame this and put this on my wall. So
yeah, I think that's what's gonna happen with me.
So with the project, actually, that's why I'm working on this with the project, and with us being a quarter of the way done, and only 1 or 2, 3 days in and whatnot, and having all these days left. What is? I don't know what. Outside of sharing and supporting, what do we do? Give us some direction. What's the push?
I mean, what do you say? Double S, share support. I mean, just talk it up. Just think about it. If you see this image, if you see any of these images come across your any groups that you're in, or in your social media feeds, just act on either one of those fronts, and and spread the word. Even if it's not online, if you're talking with friends, and somebody says, I need something to entertain my kids, or something that they're looking for, or maybe you have a daughter who loves sci-fi, who loves maybe anime or fantasy action, whatever. This is something. I mean, sharing and pledging, and supporting with the pledge are going to be key. Personally on my front, this is the second podcast I've done within 2 days. So it's been like since Saturday.
Okay.
Saturday I did an online panel. So since Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I've been in front of either Zoom or SteamYard. So, but I'm going to continue to do that, and I'm trying to promote as much as possible, for us to reach our goal. So it's people know me, like when Kickstarter time pops up on my page, I'm not apologizing for it. I mean, if you want to keep away from my page for like those 30 days, that would be great, because the majority of it is just going to be spent, talking about, the campaign.
Yeah.
It was funny. I was talking to my wife last night about this one, and she says, "I know, I see you. I see you during these campaigns."
Yeah.
So it's just like sometimes I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off, or I constantly have my phone by me because I'm trying to creatively say, hey, give us your money, that type of stuff, or hey, give us your shares. There's only so many times that you can start, kind of, you don't want to browbeat people, and that's the thing. So, and that's the balance that I try to find personally, when it comes to creator, like, when it comes to Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Kickstarter can drive you crazy if you let it. I'm just being real. I mean, it can. It just can, because you're watching those numbers. You're watching those numbers, and here's a piece of advice. So at the beginning of a Kickstarter campaign, if you have done a healthy amount of promotions before, like at least a month or 2 months in advance, with some really killer artwork, announcing your creative teams, and on the social media front, you can open up with a pretty good dollar amount in terms of pledges, if you've got it in front of people. But what's going to happen is, like, there's going to be that lull. And the middle part is always the worst part, because that's where you're constantly grinding, so you can get the numbers up. And then towards the end, I think sometimes there's a sense with people that, well, oh my God, we only got a week left, now we got to pledge, so, and then some certain ways, there are some people who are looking at your campaign and they're like, hey, I hate to put it like this, but is this good enough for me to pledge to? Have the other people help get in it? Have they gotten it to the point where I should be able to pledge, or where I should pledge? And it's just, you have to. There's so many kind of different facets of people's personalities that you have to take into play, when it comes to doing something like this. But normally you start off very strong. There's that low in the middle, and then in the end it picks right back up. But the thing that you don't want to do is rest on your laurels, or get kicked out of Facebook groups, because Facebook ain't about that life no more. Like, I've seen many creators who are like, they're in Facebook jail. They're not allowed to. And that's the other thing, is it's like, so how do you promote? If you have a relationship with these Facebook groups where the only thing you're not doing is promoting, and you do post and discuss, what if it comes time for a Kickstarter, and these people are receptive to your brand, Facebook will shut it down in certain cases if they see you. So I'm promoting, but for something like me, when it comes time to doing the next Kickstarter that I'll personally do, will be for Route 3.
Okay.
That's not attached to another company or anything. It'll be for Route 3. So I'm wondering, will I get shut down? Or whatever. So, but yeah, there are those three. That's just kind of, at least my experience of how it goes. Now, if we can get to a point where we raise all our money within the first week, I'm good with that. All we got to do at that point is just stretch goals. It's just to chill. So, my ultimate goal is to try to raise these funds at least within the first 2 weeks, so I can breathe easy. For the rest of the days. So, like I said, there are people who have done this much more often and much more successfully, and than I have. So I would always do, study the game, study Kickstarter, study, those that have been successful, and see what they have done. And then also study the ones that, haven't, I guess, done as well, and learn from that. So.
Yeah. Well, good. Wise words, because I see Kickstarters constantly. My email every other day, it's something. So I get it. What's that balance of doing enough, not doing too much, or not doing enough at all? So I get it. And hopefully this conversation will help push that goal, a little bit more change in the Kickstarter bank. And I do hope that listeners who are listening, at the very least, share, and at the next very least, support. Throw a couple dollars this way to help fund this project. I will be doing so as well. I'm having technical issues, so
yeah, don't worry about it if you can't pull it up.
I'll be seeing the cover on social medias. You'll see this on my Instagram and Twitter, but I am having some technical difficulties. Yes. But yeah, so is there anything else that you want to mention about the project? Anything that maybe we didn't go over?
To be honest with you, I don't think so. I think we hit all of the all of the major points.
Yeah,
that needed to be hit. So, yeah.
This was cool. First of all, thanks for coming on. Secondly, thank you, Tony, for being in the comments there, speaking as well. Thank you for coming on. Can you tell these people how to find you and support you and all that?
Yeah, just my website is robertkjeffrey.com. That's robertkjeffrey.com. You can also, the website that I work as editor-in-chief for is blacksci-fi.com. That's blacksci-fi.com.
Mm-hmm.
And my Instagram handle is at robertk.jeffrey. Mm-hmm. Twitter is on the screen at synkrkj. And just do a search for author Robert Jeffrey II on Facebook. And those actually the main places where you can find me.
Okay. And of course, those will be in the show notes, y'all. So when you're listening to this episode or watching this episode, make sure to hit those links, follow, support, and see what other things you might enjoy. That Kickstarter link is in the show notes on the podcasting platforms as well as on YouTube here. Please be sure to take that link, share it, and support it as well. Me, Carefree Black Nerd, Carefree Blurred on Twitter, Carefree Black Nerd everywhere else. If you need to send me a message, you want to talk to me off of social media, you got a little bit more to say, carefreeblacknerd@gmail.com. I'm willing to read emails and rate, review, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you leave a review, I'll read it on a future episode. And again, thank you for coming on, Robert. Thank you to the whole team for even coming up with this project that at the start of this conversation, I did not think it was as big as it was. I thought this was another Kickstarter, a good project, great art. The mechanics behind the scenes is making it so much more heavy in all the best ways. So thank you all. And here's to meeting that goal. So listeners, share, support. And until next time, stay carefree, stay nerdy, stay geeky, stay with the Fox Chronicles, stay with supporting the indies, stay with doing what needs to be, just stay doing all the stuff. And we're gonna leave you guys with this with the audio from the Kickstarter once again, because I do want for you guys to support. So I'll see you in a second, Robert.
Cool.
Oh, uh-oh. Well.
I was typing a few things I don't want to talk over.
You all good? You good? So let's see here. Hold on, I'm having a bit of trouble. So yeah, so that was the. Hold on. My bad. I put the. So yeah, I again, man, I definitely appreciate. What's this? Appreciate you for coming on, and